Although the mainstream media isn't saying a thing about it, the noose of government control is quietly tightening around our First Amendment. Local and state governments are taking money from corporate cable television to silence an important avenue for public expression in Los Angeles, the media capital of the world. Public access channels provide a platform for full disclosure, and now, after almost 2 decades, is going out of business. And now this sinister campaign is spreading across the nation. Why haven't you heard about it? How did this happen? Find out next on Full Disclosure. Hello, I'm Leslie Dutton. Today on Full Disclosure, we're bringing you the news behind the news in this video blog special number 25. Time Warner Cable, Cox, and other big cable companies are paying off local and state legislators to remove the contractual requirement for them to provide public access studios and channels. Your local government is fine with this arrangement. It gives them additional revenue while depriving the public of a powerful forum that can be used to criticize their government policies. We have 3 short video news blogs that explain the whole sad story. Watch this and get angry.
And I am as upset as you are that once again the strangulation of the political process has happened and we're all in trouble because public access is almost now finished.
Los Angeles Councilman Bill Rosendahl is upset that the public channels in Los Angeles and elsewhere will be shut down as of December 31st. This has been the unintended consequence, perhaps, of the Digital Infrastructure and Video Compensation Act of 2006, known as DIVCA. Los Angeles activist David Hernandez explains what is happening.
Because of the change in the state legislation from Fabian Nunez and Lloyd Levine, that it transferred the responsibility for public access and the authority to the local municipalities, and allowed the cable provider to just write a check, a 2% franchise fee, to the municipality and wash their hands of it. And that's exactly what's happening, is that rather than provide a studio, staff, equipment, where anyone with a passion for a particular issue could go in there, take a quick course in being a producer, and all of a sudden you have access to many individuals. That's over.
Councilman Rosendahl agreed.
Sacramento cut the deal with the phone company who didn't want to go through this franchising process, didn't want to help be accountable by local government on customer service or public access. So the cable industry did the same things, me too, me too. So they all got what they wanted at the expense of the people. It is a terrible day when the new year begins that public access is pretty much destroyed.
He sounds really concerned, but is he really? Mr. Hernandez suggests the termination of public channels could help the city's struggling bottom line.
What is happening here is, rather than provide the public with that asset for using their airways, they're giving the money to a governmental agency, the city, and saying, well, it's no longer my fault. I wrote my check. And so now here we are with the city, and I think that's where the focus of our effort has to be, is that the city's going to get this 2% franchise fee. It is their obligation, especially not only in the spirit but in the letter of the legislation, they need to provide public access just as the cable companies did.
The city looks at that 2% franchise fee, which could be in the millions of dollars,
Sure.
as a new source of revenue, and while silencing their critics at the same time.
It's a win-win situation for the city, but not for the residents of the city. It's a lose-lose situation.
My only suggestion is that Channel 36 somehow, since we control that placement, get involved in public access. A block of time would go to public access, and that 1% money should somehow be put in a way in which we can have at least one studio, if not more, where public access producers can do it.
LA's Channel 36 is a government-financed media outlet. Mr. Hernandez is wary about having public access controlled by city government.
If the city then says to Time Warner, well, we're going to develop a new system, well, we'll use the current city channel, I guess it's 36. We'll use the current city channel and we'll allow public access on there. And then the channels that are currently being used for public access can then revert back to the cable provider and become commercials, which are worth millions of dollars. So if the city's interpretation of the legislation is we're going to allow public access on our government-run station, where we will determine where, what time, how your program is going to be presented, that is a clear violation of the spirit of public access. That's not public access.
The power of the media to influence public opinion is well known. And that is why having a public channel that is not controlled by political officials is very important. Public access assures another voice in the community.
The whole spirit of public access is to make sure there is a clear separation between governmental control and access, agenda-driven programming, and public, because many of the public or access producers are community activists, community advocates, people that have been involved in land use, that have been involved in traffic and animal rights and whatever one can think of. And usually the opposition or the resistance that they are up against is an elected official or a governmental policy or agency.
So who should be concerned about the impending demise of public access and the public channels?
Not only the producers that put on the show, but in reality the viewing public that watches the shows. These airways belong to them as well. This is their public asset. It's not just those involved behind the camera or in front of the camera. It's those that are involved on the other side of the screen watching what is coming in. This is your asset that we're talking about. Need to ensure that constant scrutiny, constant pressure is being put on the city council and the mayor's office and everyone else, that there's a sense of urgency to develop a comprehensive, valid strategy for providing public access stations free from governmental censorship, free from agenda-driven programming, that there can truly be, in the entertainment capital of the world, public access for the residents of Los Angeles.
Plus, more importantly, the people own the airwaves, you know, not the broadcasters or the cablecasters.
The eyes of the nation are now looking at the city of Los Angeles. Hearings are taking place in Washington, D.C. to discuss what is happening to our public access channels. Legislation similar to what passed here in California last year is now pending in 8 other states. If the public channels can be shut down here, in the heart of the media world and Hollywood, then certainly like dominoes, the other states will fall victim to the government control of public access stations, silencing their own critics.
It's vital and it's worth it. And it's our responsibility to move forward in preserving public access.
Did you know your city council or board of supervisors can determine what programs you watch on your local public cable channels? Our full disclosure program has been fighting to remain on public channels so we can bring you the news behind the news as a public service. In some cities, local politicians have actually tried to remove our shows from the public cable stations because they don't want you to know what they're doing. One of our candidate debates was even stopped during production at a city-controlled cable channel.
Cut. Sorry. Oh, so good. We're
That's okay. We don't have time for this segment. We have to do the closing.
We want your opinion on this issue. Should our public cable channels be censored by local politicians? Let your elected officials and cable company know you want full disclosure. To cast your vote and send a message to your local cable company, go to fulldisclosure.net or call 800-867-7777. Full Disclosure, the news behind the news.
So how did this happen? We documented the clever way Los Angeles City Council dodged their responsibility to the public with access to use the powerful cable channels. You can watch the Los Angeles City Council in action, or more accurately, in full bureaucratic inaction. Full Disclosure was born on cable public access over 16 years ago. As the news behind the news, it was the medium where we could expose the issues that mainstream media either wouldn't or couldn't explore. And now, starting in January of 2009, public access is finished.
Council members, in 2006, the California State Legislature passed a new state law that took effect in 2007.
That state law was AB 2987, or DIVCA, the Digital Infrastructure and Video Competition Act of 2006, and went into effect a year ago. A year ago. The Los Angeles City Council Committee on Information Technology Agency hosted a meeting at the last minute, just before the holidays, when nobody was looking, to kill off public access cable channels.
And that took away the city's franchising rights. What the state law also did was cause the city to lose the right to negotiate and enforce new franchise agreements that would have permitted the city to grow and enhance its current public education and government access system.
Public Education and Government Access Systems is known as PEG, or PEG. We all know the value of educational TV and government TV, but what is the value of public access? Morris Griffin, a community activist known as Big Money Griff, said it best.
Our voice, our position, our previous subjects such as religion, Proposition 8, Proposition 9, Proposition 11, rent control. If our voice is taken away, our lives will be affected forever come December 31st.
Full Disclosure has been seen and heard on over 40 cable public access stations throughout California. Our crusade to bring public attention to critical issues has been very successful due to our ability to speak directly to the people through public access. As of the end of this year, that channel of communication will be closed. Watch Council Committee Chairman Cardenas react with surprise and affront.
The city's incumbent cable operators, Time Warner and Cox, they switched over to the new state franchise as of January 2008. And now the final transition will take place on January 1st of 2009, where the incumbent providers will no longer be obligated to provide the 14 public access studios throughout the city. Time Warner has stated that it will shut down operations of its 14 public and education access studios, resulting in a loss of studios and channel signals to the city as of January 1st,
Wait a minute.
2009.
Wait, slow down, time out. You're talking about one company closing down 14 facilities?
That is correct.
Now, hold on a second. They're closing down 14 facilities. They've had these facilities open for years?
That is correct, Councilman. As part of the previous city franchise, when the city was responsible for cable franchising, as part of the negotiations of that franchise agreement, they negotiated that the incumbent provided at no expense to the city as an in-kind service public access facilities throughout the city with a total of 14.
Council Committee Chairman Cardenas worked hard to point out how helpless the city was in protecting the public access.
Okay, so nowhere in the DIFCA language would we find a requirement to carry PEG access?
Correct. What you will find is that to the extent that there is capacity for PEG channels, the new entrants have to provide similar capacity.
Capacity, but not
Correct.
content.
Correct.
Not facilities in order to create the content, et cetera, like the old days,
Right.
like the facilities we have today.
And Councilman, if I could elaborate on the city attorney's comments. Therefore, it's really the city's prerogative to determine what level of PEG access it would provide. And again, when we talk about PEG access, we're talking about three elements: public access, educational access content, and government access content.
Aha, did you hear that? It's really the city's prerogative to determine what level of PEG access it would provide. So the city does have some say in providing the public a platform to air its grievances. But do they want to provide that platform?
The cancellation of PEG will stop the galvanizing and mobilizing of the people around various issues.
And that may be the unspoken but intended consequence. So what did they do for us? They selected option number 1.
Option number 1 includes preserving 4 citywide channels as follows for the City of Los Angeles. One channel that would be for continuation of the government access channel, Channel 35. A second channel that would be a government access channel that would be utilized initially as an electronic bulletin board and would include additional government access programming over time. This channel would really be a placeholder that would allow the city to preserve a second channel at no cost and could be later expanded or reshaped as the city's budget improves in the future. A third channel would be used for continuation of the city's current educational access channel, Channel 36, under its existing board LACTAC. It would be designated a community and educational channel. It would also carry some public access content on the channel, as well as deliver all the content on the internet.
Channel 36? Channel 36 is already loaded with programming, including the World Affairs Council, high school football games, commercial cooking shows, the Arts Channel. Even Full Disclosure has been featured on Channel 36 for years. How are they going to find space for the thousands of public access producers in the nation's second largest city? You should know that the city funds their government channel, 35, to the tune of $6 million a year. This is where the mayor and the city council air their well-funded productions, council meetings, and individually showcase interviews with the council members. And now they're going to dump all of the production and currently airing on 14 other channels onto the poor stepchild Channel 36, which has an annual budget of less than $600,000. And all of the productions, including self-funded Full Disclosure, will have to compete for airtime on this one channel. Which government agency will decide which public voice gets heard? Will it be the City Council Budget Committee, who appropriates the channel's budget? Will it be the Council ITA Committee? Or will the mayor's office have a say?
So who is going to be making the decision as to what we air or what we don't air? Are we going to play reruns of the World Affairs Council, or are we going to play one of the many religious broadcasts that are currently airing on public access?
Do you see a potential for government control and censorship here, or is it just me?
A fourth and final channel would be implemented for higher educational content to be operated and managed at no cost to the city, with participation from the city's higher educational institutions throughout the Southland.
Our rights and liberties are in the process of being taken away from the people because of large companies like Time Warner, AT&T, because they have lobbied, and because of the budget.
We are losing 14 channels, not just 14 stations, but we're losing 14 channels and the time frame with which those programs would be broadcast. And we're being relegated to 4, let's face it, 4 government-controlled channels.
Full Disclosure has been out in front of this problem. Due to the public support we've received over the past 15 years, we now video stream our programs on the internet. We regret that the door of public access opportunity is now closing for future producers, because new producers with limited resources will be prevented from having the readily available television facilities and training to air their points of view that may strike a chord in the mind of the public. As of January 1st, that access will be gone.
This is an alternative form of journalism in which the saturated, censored mass media does not offer an alternative to their point of view.
It's one thing to see these little video blogs on the internet that are capturing a moment or two in time. It's another thing to hear a serious public policy maker reveal a situation that's impacting citizens across the country.
Full Disclosure video blogs online at www.fulldisclosure.net.
Full Disclosure hasn't been fighting this battle alone. Many in the entertainment industry appreciate the need to maintain the public access studios and channels. Here's another video news blog featuring a heavyweight producer in Hollywood entertainment media. Full Disclosure covered the City Council hearing on the future of public access cable channels and studios in Los Angeles. Among those testifying before the council was 35-year entertainment industry veteran, Peabody and Emmy award-winning executive producer Vin DiBona, who captivated television audiences when he introduced America's Funniest Home Videos in 1989. As co-chair of the powerful and influential caucus organization that represents writers, producers, and directors of new media, Full Disclosure asked Mr. DiBona about the importance of the public access channels on cable television and why the caucus was urging the City Council to preserve the concept here in Los Angeles. Being the news behind the news, Full Disclosure once again was the only television media to cover this important event at City Hall.
My name is Vin DiBona. I'm executive producer of America's Funniest Home Videos, and I'm former chairman of the caucus for producers, writers, and directors here in Los Angeles. But more importantly, I'm a student of local television. I began my career in the late 60s in Boston at a local TV station owned by Westinghouse, where we produced 19 hours of local programming every week, excluding news. So there was room for philosophy, there was room for religion, there was room for discussion of issues on abortion, of rights to life, all issues that would come across the marketplace. In the early 90s, the FCC reduced the rules and made it easier for stations to get their licenses. And in doing so, they also made it easier for stations to say, we're cutting out local programming. Today, that same station I worked at in the late 60s does practically no live or local shows other than the news. So public access really is the only venue for training, for forums on discussion on both sides of an issue, that evolve and are not just a 25-second soundbite on the local news at 6 o'clock at night. It's the only way people can get ideas and training of young new people to learn the business. At that same station I worked at in the late 60s, and even here in Los Angeles, I worked at KNXT, now KCBS. We did a lot of things, and there was room for young people to come in and learn a trade. So now that there's no local programming, there's no place to learn. Public access is that place to train. It's also a place where senior producers, folks who are sort of, past being on network television, but still want to be able to contribute, it's a place for them to create their shows. So you have young, old, you have transformance of ideas, and a perfect place to learn. It's the best thing in television.
You watched the entire hearing today. Mm-hmm. You listened to a lot of people talk, and you heard the councilman speak. Mm-hmm. What was your overall impression of what was accomplished today?
Well, I think today the most important thing was that we were able to continue the thought that public access will continue. Now, there's going to be more debate. The big issue, of course, is finance, and we'll need to be at the next meeting where finance is going to be discussed. We sort of have a stopgap today. I wouldn't say we won today, but I say we certainly curtailed any effort to say there will be no more public access. But the fight is still there, but I think the battle is tilted on our side. And I think that if the public can be part of coming to a council and council meeting and sticking up for their rights and looking at this as the sort of last bastion of the ability for people to speak their piece. You know, it's sort of public access is an ombudsman for the community. We have to have that. It's very important.
There was a suggestion by one of the council members, or a question about the new technology, satellite, other areas of being able to increase public access. Your organization is a very sophisticated, influential one, and maybe familiar with some of these avenues. Do you think that might be something that the city could be encouraged to do, to explore those opportunities?
Well, sure. I think that satellite is certainly a fine possibility. There was a comment made that was very important, and that comment was relating to the web. And the issue that some of the cable companies are stating is that, well, now there's a lot of access on the web. And someone said that there's a big difference between channel surfing and stopping and being glued to what's being said and being enticed to watch that, rather than going on the web and just zipping through files and URLs and everything. You don't stop. You tend to stay for a fraction of a second, but usually the information is short. The beauty of public access is that the information is extensive, and I think that's what the importance is here.
Well, very good. Do you see the caucus then continuing their interest in supporting the concept?
Well, I think we will. I think that it's a new issue to us, and one we've just become aware with from one of our members. And I think coming here today and seeing the real important philosophies that people can put forth about what they do and how they perform and how public access has been good for them and important in their career and also in creating new information to the community. Yeah, I think that's important for us too.
Watch for the Full Disclosure complete report on this important issue coming to cable stations and the internet soon. And be sure and leave your comments below. This concludes our video blog special number 25. If you would like to be a participant in the Full Disclosure Town Hall and are not on the internet, you can call us at 1-800-867-7777. That's 1-800-867-7777. Or you can go to our website at fulldisclosure.net and cast your vote and leave your comments. If you leave your email address or phone number, we'll get back to you. We want you to get involved. Be sure to join us next time for another edition of Full Disclosure. I'm Leslie Dutton. We'll see you then.
Full Disclosure is a non-commercial public affairs program sponsored by the Citizens Protection Alliance. For a transcript or videotape copy of today's program or a listing of airtimes and channels, call our toll-free number at 1-800-867-7777 or visit our website at www.fulldisclosure.net.
The government has seized control of the public channels to limit our First Amendment freedom. And now this sinister campaign is spreading across the nation. Why haven't you heard about it? How did this happen? Find out next on Full Disclosure. Hello, I'm Leslie Dutton. Today on Full Disclosure, we're bringing you the news behind the news in this video blog special number 26. The public access channels were scheduled to close as of January 1st of 2009. We here at Full Disclosure had been clamoring about the issue for months prior to that date, And then in December, the big boys from ABC Nightline came to our little studio and videotaped an interview, supposedly to publicize our strident call for help. January came and went, and the interview has never aired, as promised. Why? Why wouldn't the major news outlets be concerned that a non-commercial television channel specifically dedicated to the public was being terminated? Watch this first short video news blog and make up your own mind. The news programming is diminishing, it's disappearing from our television sets, so public access is a vital service that's being provided that's going to be taken away from us. In our ongoing struggle to preserve public access television as the voice of the people, ABC Nightline came to interview Full Disclosure as a result of an article published in the LA Weekly. The producer for ABC's Western Bureau came to the Full Disclosure Network with a camera crew and all their technical gear to find out what all the fuss is about. The problem is, a little too little, a little too late. As of January 1st, public access in Los Angeles is dead. The segment they taped will air January 9th.
I'm ready. Okay. You okay, sir?
Oh, yeah.
You ready, Jude?
I am rolling.
Okay, Dylan's rolling.
ABC questioned the purpose of public access, suggesting that it's mainly a format of kooky, unusual, and irrelevant programming. At Full Disclosure, we use the public access channels to provide the news behind the news, which instead of providing the usual sound bites featured on the evening news, our program gives viewers an in-depth understanding of important civic issues, unlimited by commercial time and unrestricted by advertiser censorship. Public access is a vital service to reach the public, to bring the community together. We have community problems, we have community issues, and the channels that are provided by public access bring the community together. A last-minute stopgap effort by the LA City Council is to find funding for almost a hopeless proposal to turn the second government billboard channel into a public access channel. Cable viewers will lose the public access channels they are already paying for in their monthly bills. By cutting the current 14 stations whose channels are running public access 24/7, who will control which programs get the prime airtime and what programs will be rejected? What First Amendment protection will there be for programs that are critical of government officials, policies, and programs? Well, we're in the heart of the media world right here in Los Angeles. If the Los Angeles City Council allows this to happen, allows Time Warner to shut down the channels and the cables, then it's going to send a message across the land that other areas where AT&T, Verizon, and Time Warner have already, legislation has been introduced in other major cities, 8 major cities across the country. If they get away with it here, it'll happen across the country, and the voice of the people will be gone. So the interviewer from ABC wondered what can be done. The cable systems are off the hook as of January 1st. We here at Full Disclosure aren't ready or willing to surrender. We are making an appeal to the Attorney General of the state of California, asking him to intervene under the Business and Professions Code to get an injunctive relief to stop Time Warner from closing down the channels until such time as the city has a replacement in place. This is a travesty that Time Warner would do this, leaving their subscribers and the producers in the lurch. And we believe that the Attorney General of the state of California really should be involved in this to protect the public. It's unconscionable what has happened here, and our elected officials here locally have let us down. And I know that there are PEG access groups, public access groups, support groups all over the state that are joining in the appeal asking him to intervene. We've already asked the council to do it, and we've already asked the city attorney to do it, and we've had no response. So perhaps if the Attorney General will step in on behalf of the people, perhaps we can protect the public assets from being taken from us. No matter where you live, we are asking you to write the California Attorney General, the Honorable Edmund G. Brown, Jr. By clicking on the link below, you'll be asking him to stop Time Warner from shutting down the public access operations. You can also send him a personal email by clicking on the email link if you'd like to express your personal opinion. We need you to raise your voice to protect the last vestige of our public voice before it's taken away forever. Thank you.
Now, Full Disclosure has video blogs online.
A lot of things are going to be talked about concerning important subjects.
Log on now and be better informed.
Our goal is to represent to the people the truth on issues.
Video blogs where your voice is heard.
There is no other place where people can come and find the information that we have.
Full Disclosure video blogs at www.fulldisclosure.net.
Some powerful people in California politics started joining the crusade to save public television. Stanley Scheinbaum served as president of the Los Angeles Police Commission and on the Board of Regents for the University of California. He joined our efforts because he understands the value of having a forum for the public to speak out on government policy.
Very important, very important.
Stanley Scheinbaum thinks that maintaining the public access cable channels is very important. He's alarmed at the fact that beginning January 1st, Time Warner Cable is shutting down 14 public access studios across Los Angeles, the media capital of the world. Mr. Scheinbaum is a strong First Amendment champion and a longtime ACLU Foundation benefactor who served as president of the Los Angeles Police Commission and as a member of the University of California Board of Regents. He understands the role of public access in light of the failures and limitations of the modern media.
There have been limits to what the media general has helped with in terms of keeping the public informed, and I think that's a good phrase. Keeping the public informed is something that ought to be on our minds constantly.
We ask him to describe the role of public access in keeping the public informed.
Public access is a way of making democracy effective. By keeping the public aware of what the limitations are when people with other interests resist what public access wants to do.
Is public access a First Amendment concern? Did he think that this new policy will curtail the freedom of the press?
Freedom of the press might be a way of describing it. The public often responded badly when the press overstepped itself, and it became essential to think in terms of public access to the press, both on the part of the prosecutors in government and on the part of administrations in government.
So what is the role of the media in relationship to government? We ask him to give us the bigger picture of the issue.
Well, there are times when the interests of those people in government, some legislative people, some administrative people, they don't want the information they had out, and they try to keep information away from the press. The press always struggles for it, but you constantly have that tension between government executives, not only executives but legislators also, who do not thoroughly agree, especially when their own careers are at stake and involved.
So the media performs the role of the watchdog over government by providing accurate, unbiased, and timely information to people who take an active role in voting. Mr. Scheinbaum thinks the media is important to maintain the welfare of democracy.
In order to be an educated public, the people, if you don't mind my saying so, who vote, and they're voting in a democratic system, you want them voting for the people who have the interests of the public at heart, not just their own careers. And that takes time and constantly attention.
Mr. Scheinbaum is concerned that the mainstream media isn't doing its job as it should.
Now, one thing I'm particularly worried about at the moment is there is increasing attention to the fact that the newspapers are no longer being as astute and conscious of the First Amendment issues, or even in their conscious of their role in keeping the public informed. And to repeat, the public, if they are to vote properly, have to be kept informed. So public access is critical.
So, according to Mr. Scheinbaum, public access is urgently needed to fill the gaps left by the mainstream media.
You find now the Chicago Tribune, which suddenly has a big hand in the LA Times, less interested in the principled existence of the press as they once were. They're more interested in selling advertising and so forth. They and that is the need for people in the public access business like yourself to be constant reminders to the press what their basic role is.
Mr. Scheinbaum asked a very interesting question.
Why is there not more publicity about this? Why is this not generally known?
We second his question. Why isn't the mainstream media making a big deal of this encroachment on an important means of public communication? Why is it that the media critics say that nobody watches public access? Is it really that insignificant?
It's very important, very important.
We agree, and we ask him, why is public access important?
It's important in our system that the electorate be sophisticated, understands what government can do and what government shouldn't do, and the public should be responsive to the pressures that, in a sense, keep the arm on government. Because if government isn't observed closely and critically, then the system goes down the drain.
We all know that there are strange and kooky programs to be found on public access. But beyond that, public access provides the opportunity for anyone who has a significant concern about government policy to give notice to that concern and to be able to broadcast that voice to their local community.
So that the voice of the public is constantly on the minds of the government people, who, bear in mind, the government people are not there to do whatever they think is right and wrong. They've got to know what the public is thinking.
And so the LA City Council is standing on the sidelines, wringing their hands and allowing the cable companies to close down the public access studios, even though the cable subscribers are paying for it in their monthly bills. Perhaps our city officials are letting the channels die because shows on public access, shows like Full Disclosure, are often critical of their policies and procedures.
That's the point. That's the point. Because if the public access channels are not available to keeping the arm, so to speak, on government, the government has very little pressure on them to perform as governments should.
The LA City Council's only action has been to seize control of the only 4 remaining channels and has not challenged Time Warner's intent to close all public access operations. In just a matter of days, the watchdog service provided by public access producers will be gone.
Newspapers are not carrying as much basic news as they used to. And that is very unfortunate.
Mr. Scheinbaum has sent a letter to the California Attorney General asking him to intervene before December 31st to stop Time Warner from closing down the public access operation.
Well, I think it's absolutely essential for us to do everything possible to, as you put it, get his attention. Because he's the one in the position of doing something about it. Not only because of his position as Attorney General, but now that he's running for governor, that should be an issue with him.
Time is short. You can help too. Please click on the link below and send a letter to Attorney General Jerry Brown and urge him to take action now. Thank you.
Did you know your city council or board of supervisors can determine what programs you watch on your local public cable channels? Our full disclosure program has been fighting to remain on public channels so we can bring you the news behind the news as a public service. In some cities, local politicians have actually tried to remove our shows from the public cable stations because they don't want you to know what they're doing. One of our candidate debates was even stopped during production at a city-controlled cable channel.
Cut. Sorry. Oh, so good. We're
We don't have time for this segment. We have to do the closing.
We want your opinion on this issue. Should our public cable channels be censored by local politicians? Let your elected officials and cable company know you want full disclosure. To cast your vote and send a message to your local cable company, go to fulldisclosure.net or call 800-867-7777. Full Disclosure, the news behind the news.
After playing a newspaper editor on his Emmy Award-winning TV series Lou Grant, Ed Asner also knows the value of the public voice. He was adamant that the Los Angeles City Council stop stealing the money contractually set aside for public access channels and fulfill their responsibility to provide those public channels. You'll find his comments very motivating.
The access of the citizen to inform his fellows has come to zilch. It is tremendously punitive, and it's foul-smelling that this city, which has become vastly more progressive than when I first came here, should be behaving in such a manner in terms of denying free speech and thought.
Actor Ed Asner is aggravated that Los Angeles city officials are doing nothing as Time Warner Cable is shutting down the public access channels across the city of Los Angeles. As one of the stars of the popular 70s comedy, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, he has been awarded 7 Emmys for his work on his own series, Lou Grant. Mr. Asner is passionate about the importance of public access channels.
They have been the venting place for public citizens. And more in this economy and in this great free speech nation of ours, there is more and more disappearance of the ability for the private citizen to vent his ideas. This is the internet in terms of TV. Without this public access to TV, there is no internet for television.
According to Mr. Asner, the city has been negligent in hoarding the millions of dollars in franchise fees paid to the city specifically to support public access.
And I think it's shocking and symptomatic of the evisceration, erosion, evaporation of independent free speech and thought by having this, the public access in Los Angeles anyway, wither on the vine by the city's refusal to take money which has been given by franchise and by contract, and keeping it for its own needs. And you know, I'm sure that in these times the city needs all the money it can get, but it's been doing this for 25 years and has not been forthcoming with these funds which were to go to public TV.
To Mr. Asner, this is a free speech issue. As public access declines, the corporate media gains more control of public thought.
It demonstrates, once again, the clampdown on free speech and thought and press in this country. We are ruled in this country by a media that is generally of one voice, that is, there are something like 6 or 7 mega companies which control media in our country, perhaps the world. This is merely a further inroad into that control, so that any thought that appears is due to these 6 or 7 mega corporations. Been going on, that I know of, since the 70s. And this is one of the last efforts to wrap up the inability for the private citizen to make his thoughts known, to expose ideas that you will not see on public TV, that you will not see in corporate TV, although public TV is corporate TV as well.
Sadly, the fact that Time Warner Cable has aggressively shut down the public access studios and the 14 channels that were available here in Los Angeles is generally unknown to LA residents. According to Mr. Asner, people have been purposely conditioned not to appreciate public access television.
Many people are unaware of this access. And I will be quite forthcoming and say that perhaps in the 25 years of public access TV, the earth-shaking ideas that may have taken place there may be minimal, but the fact that it's there waiting for those ideas to come forth on public TV, public access TV, is shocking and shows the corporate mentality that this country sinks into more and more.
Can commercial television become the avenue for local public commentary? Mr. Asner doesn't think so.
It is the person with the latest movie. It is the latest card trick, but we do not live in David Frost time. And public access TV helps to create that atmosphere, which has constantly been disappearing.
Is there any hope? Does he think we can reverse the trend of giving more and more power to corporate TV?
Well, hopefully what we're doing here and what others have done for you will serve to alert these people who may be asleep at the switch. Most of the people I run into aren't even aware of this battle that's going on. And, you know, I have to say something that the city's disinclination to share this wealth for 25 years, it sounds almost criminal to me.
We asked Mr. Asner why he thinks the mainstream media, local and network television, or local and regional newspapers aren't taking an active role in bringing public attention to this demise of public access.
Probably because they see maybe they're doing so poorly. Maybe they think they can pick up a few more shekels by the shutting down of this free access. Once again, not caring about other access to free speech.
What will happen when public access is gone? We ask him to predict the future.
The people are probably going to let this die, being sheeple, allowing it to die, and then 6 months from now or a year from now, when they become frustrated with commercial TV and the moneyed channels, they say, why isn't there an access that we can talk about these ideas without having to get down on our knees and beg to appear on some local TV show? And then they say, oh, we used to have that? Oh, why don't we have it now? Oh. And they'll whimper and whine and mewl and puke and cry.
Mr. Asner appealed directly to the Los Angeles City Council.
I have appeared in front of the City Council a number of times and have been pleased by the people that I've met there, the people representing this city. And I think if the City Council members, in the majority, truly respect the rights of the individual and the rights of free speech and thought, that they would exercise themselves to seeing that the city makes up for its past negligence in terms of public access TV and asserts its proper role in supporting it before it vanishes into thin air.
We want to know what you, the viewers, think. Please respond to our survey and leave your comments below. Number 1, do you think that the Los Angeles City Council let public access die deliberately to undermine the public's right to know what's going on? Yes or no? Number 2, do you agree that eliminating public access television will wipe out free speech on television? Yes or no? Number 3, do you think there's a danger of corporate control over public opinion? Yes or no? Be sure to leave your comments below. Thank you. This concludes our video blog special number 26. If you would like to participate in the Full Disclosure Town Hall and are not on the internet, you can call us at 1-800-867-7777. That's 1-800-867-7777. Or you can go to our website at fulldisclosure.net and cast your vote and leave your comments. If you leave your email address or phone number, we'll get back to you. We want you to get involved. Be sure and join us next time for another edition of Full Disclosure. I'm Leslie Dutton. We'll see you then.
Full Disclosure is a non-commercial public affairs program sponsored by the Citizens Protection Alliance. For a transcript or videotape copy of today's program or a listing of airtimes and channels, call our toll-free number at 1-800-867-7777 or visit our website at www.fulldisclosure.net.